What's all that? Oh, that's that BMW, isn't it?
It's the BMW stuff.
Yeah.
So, as many of you have been aware, there's been M3 engines all over the place in this workshop for God knows how long now.
For a little while.
All come from Andy. Andy, the deal, we were going to work some deal out, and what we were thinking was whether we could do a deal on the 2 complete engines for building one for Andy. So he came round the other day to drop us the wings. If you go to our second channel, like and subscribe, you'll see that there. I'll put a link down in the description below, not plugging it or anything. But yeah, so basically the story is Andy had this engine in his car originally.
Which one? That the one by the door?
This one by the door, yeah. So that was running perfect until he had a knock-in down one of the straights at Nürburgring. Turned it off fairly quick, but he's done an end in the crank. So he swapped to that motor, which he ran for a while, and apparently that was problem sort of free, not an unknown. This engine was one that he's acquired. So Andy come around the other day, we had a little chat, and what he wanted really was an engine with all the trick bits in.
Right.
So I went away and did him an estimate, like a worst case, I'm doing one of these M3s. Now we all know the bits are expensive. A lot of the bits you've got to get from BMW, like all the mains, bolts and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
The trick bits, like the pistons are about 900 quid.
Christ.
The rods are like 750, you know, it all adds up. Then you've got camshafts and all that. It turns out that he was looking at about 11,500 quid to do a trick motor on one of them.
Quite a bit, isn't it?
Quite a lot of money. Or how we put it on the phone.
Yeah.
So we then sort of took all the trick bits off and did an estimate for like a stock build, basically like what I've done in my
like
M3.
a refresh, really.
A refresh, but you're still looking really to do one of them with all the BMW bits and new pistons and that. You're still looking sort of 8,500 quid.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, yeah. Then we go on to the deal we were thinking about doing with these engines. So obviously there was going to be a fair difference if the crank was scrapping that one, because if it didn't grind, you're looking at 1,500 quid for one of these cranks now, second hand. There's a few hundred quid. John's had a measure. He seems to think that it may be all right, it may be grindable, but you're still looking
in that one.
Yeah. So which
I took the crank up
this one. This one, sorry. This is the one.
Oh right, okay.
Crank,
yeah.
So we needed 3 decent cranks, and obviously we were assuming that all the rest of the bits were okay. Now I started stripping this one the other day, took the cams out of it, mate. And very unusual this, but if you have a look at that cam journal, he said that there was a bit of a tapping in this, and they assumed it may have been the Vanos.
Right.
But actually 4 of the cam caps, that one, this one and that one, are all worn like this. You see this inlet cam is not that great.
Yeah.
But this journal down below the cam there is actually worn about 1 millimetre. So that
cam big old lip
carrier,
there. It's all come up.
It's all sort of spread out.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the cam carrier is separate to the cylinder head, so the cylinder head maybe not scrap, although we haven't took it off. But you're still looking between 350 and 500 quid for a cam carrier.
So it's just this.
Just that bit
top
there that
section,
holds the buckets basically and the cams. So that's before we even get in amongst it. The problem we've got is, obviously I would only do a deal really on the 2 motors if I could get the money back for the engine build that we were going to do. So obviously with the price of just even doing a stock motor, I'd need to see sort of 4 or 5 grand out of these engines, wouldn't I? Because there's going to be VAT on them, etc. If you go on eBay, you can get a complete engine running with box, etc., and all the ancillaries for 6.5. How good it is, we don't know, but at least it's running. But to get these just even running, I'm going to have to chuck a couple of grand's worth of BMW bits in just to build them back up. So I said to him, I don't want to try and pull anyone's pants down, but we're going to have to really get these for pence, which I don't want to do to him. So I've advised him, he come and picks them up, gets them out of my hair. I would like eventually to maybe if he doesn't sell them, we'll both advertise them. If there's anyone out there needs an S50 B32, this is what we've got here. You know, we can build one up, but it's going to be the sort of money that I've said. Or you can have them in bits. But Andy's going to advertise them, take it all back, and if worse comes to worse, and he couldn't sell them, then I would quite like one or the ancillaries off one to keep as spares for ours, really.
Yeah,
but it's handy, isn't it? We're a business at the end of the day, and from a business point of view,
it's not going to make sense, is it?
It's not going to make sense. You know, there's a couple of grand's worth of bits.
If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. But
it's not even accounting your labour, is it?
No.
So it's sort of worth doing for our car, but a lot of the time these motors, when you build them, you don't really get your money back, you know. To buy one of these donor, then take it to bits and build it and all that, it's going to owe you 12, 13,000 quid. Well, you ain't going to get it back, are you?
No.
So, yeah, Andy's coming to pick them up today at sort of lunchtime and get them out of our hair. It's a shame, really,
yeah,
but
it's a shame.
yeah, if you take the fact that we might need a cam carrier, well, we're going to need a cam carrier there. We may need a crank. It's a couple of thousand quid, isn't it? It's all getting a bit same as the Cosworth stuff. This M3 stuff, to be fair.
Yeah.
So we've all seen what the Cosies are like when you buy a donor for £6,000. Heap. We've had one or two where really all that's left is the head and the crank, isn't it?
Yeah.
The rest is scrap. So yeah, unfortunately, he's going to take them away. We'll see what deal we can do down the line. If any of you can suggest in the comments what you think we should do, whether it's worth hanging on to one and paying a few quid, don't know. Part of me says that this stuff may be quite valuable in the future. And
well, I'm sure it is all valuable. It's just how easily you can sell it, or
this is it.
You know, like for Andy anyway. I don't know how easy it's going to be for him to just get rid of it all. But
exactly, you've got more chance of selling them as a complete running unit. But like I say, the ones that are for sale for sort of 6, they're still for sale. You know what I mean? You're going to have to make it cheap for someone to come and buy it. So yeah, unfortunately, and fortunately, we're going to have a bit more space. So
yeah,
onwards and upwards, mate.
Onwards and upwards.
On. Live.
Right, mate. Live. I've had a few emails over the last few months of people asking me, have I ever had any big cock-ups in here? And the answer, unfortunately, is yes. And I think anyone that's in engineering who says they've never had a muck-up or nothing's ever gone wrong, lying out their teeth,
yeah,
haven't they?
Definitely.
I think I've had possibly everything that could have gone wrong on a particular machine in here, I've had go wrong. And it's the only way you learn, isn't it, from your mistakes?
Yeah.
Have you had anything go wrong?
Yes, big time.
And have you learnt from it?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Remember the old piston in the lathe?
Oh, yes.
That went wrong.
That was in the...
that was the Merc. We had to get another one, didn't we?
We had to get a new piston. Never mind. The only time it's a nightmare is when you can't get that part again.
Which was nearly the case with that.
Yeah. I've been in when I did my apprenticeship, I did it in, it was all batch stuff, so you would have test pieces to get the thing right, set the machine up. The only trouble is with a place like this is a lot of the time when you're machining an engine part or something, or an engine, you haven't got any test pieces.
One chance.
You've got one chance, and if you don't get that right, it's going to be big trouble.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've mucked up quite a lot of times in here over the last 20 years, but 2 in particular ones seem to stick in my mind. One of them is the thumbnail and title. He laughs. I haven't over-dramatised it at all.
Nah.
The first one is on this machine here. I had an 8-valve Astra head. This was back in the day when we were doing a lot of head skims for local garages. The 8-valve Astra petrol, the 1600, things like that, they were dead common, a bit like the Rovers. We were doing them all day long. You can get a bit complacent when you're doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And that particular time, I wasn't really being complacent, but maybe I was with the clamping. So on here, it's a bit like this. You're doing a block at the moment. You can see we've got various clamps, etc. And we find a place that we can clamp. And I clamped the cylinder head on parallels, exactly what you did there, using this clamp.
Yeah.
In a dowel hole, but I didn't go in far enough. And I was actually standing where you are, and what happened was, this thing's spinning round at 720 RPM. This clamp's come out, the other clamp has pulled the head up, so the head must have flicked up like that, and then this tool has hit the head and drove it across the workshop. And I kid you not, there was at the time there was Dave's Austin 7 body sitting over there against the wall. The ramp wasn't here, obviously, and it's fired the head across the workshop straight into the body of the car. Big dent in the side before you could bat your eyelid. So you imagine if that had flicked that out into my chest.
Mate.
Not great news.
Painful.
And it was how easy it flicked that big aluminium head up over there was unreal. So that surprised me and shook me up a little bit. But the biggest F up was the King of Morocco's Rolls Royce that we were doing.
Sounds like a real story, Lee.
This is a genuine real story, and I ain't kidding you. We were doing a Rolls Royce engine for a company that was restoring a Rolls Royce for the King of Morocco. So we had the engine to do, all the machining, etc. At the time, well, even now, if we get a big cast iron 6-cylinder, which this was, a big, quite a long one, which you can't do on there.
Yeah.
We would do it on this grinder machine. We don't tend to use this that much anymore, do we?
Not really. I've only used it about twice, I think.
That's it, yeah. But what this is a head with 10 stones in, individual stones, and it's best for cast iron and steel, etc.
Yeah.
And what it does, the bed just feeds across and feeds the head into the stones. Same sort of thing as that, really. And this is how you put your cut on here. Now the problem arose. It was a and that John uses that to hit the head down because he thinks that thinks that makes a difference. I don't know, whatever. So yeah, it was a couple of I suppose circumstances that happened on this particular day.
Yeah.
I've set the thing up, so what I do is you get your height right and then you touch the stones on, bring the job off, then put a cut on like 2 thou, and then push the handle in and it feeds it in. What I did, you've got this here which dresses the stones, so you've got this arm here which is at a slight angle, and with the wheel going, you can wind this thing up and just pull it and dress the stones, okay?
Yeah.
So I've dressed the stones, but I haven't put this in far enough, okay? It's got to go right the way in to hold it. And what's happened is the vibrations, as I set the thing going, the vibrations has pulled this pin out, the thing's dropped down to about here, yeah?
Yeah.
I've walked away, of course. The block has pushed into that, which has pulled the head down at an angle and drove the back end of the stones into the block face. Probably about 3 mil.
Oh no.
Yeah, scary times.
On a Rolls Royce
At
block.
the time I was employed by Dave, and I've gone in there and said, Dave, I've had an accident. Told him. He said, oh dear. And we had to get it welded up, and we never had it back. All good in the end, but very scary, mate. Multi-billionaire, that man.
It's always scary when it's A, for someone important, and B, when it's something a bit rare.
Yeah.
Because you're just like,
Would have made a
why?
good thumbnail and title back in the day.
Yeah. If
Wouldn't have been
YouTube was about.
wouldn't have fancied being took to court by the King of Morocco.
No.
No. So it was scary. So yeah, just goes to show, mate, anything can happen in here. Just got to be very careful, very safety
wary.
conscious, as we always are, aren't we?
All the time.
With our glasses and all that.
I've just started using
You use the
earplugs
glasses.
as well.
You do use earplugs.
Yeah,
You're
well
the only
good.
one that uses ear defenders. John's never used ear defenders, and now look at him. Can't hear.
Didn't even hear you
Can't
talk
hear
about
himself
it then.
think.
Bloody hell.
So, yeah, very important, mate. All joking aside, but yeah, you do learn by your mistakes. It's just you've just got to hope that the mistakes aren't that bad that they cause any injuries, because we've all seen on the internet these horrible things that can happen.
I hate watching them videos.
Awful, especially
Tell
when
you
it's
what.
the same bloody machine
Yeah.
as we've got.
At college, them boys are bloody...
Ruthless.
Yeah, they just show you stuff. Because none of them actually really like... you know, they're normally either inputting stuff or they're on some other aspect. Like, they never use the machine, so it doesn't really...
It doesn't affect
They're not
them.
worrying about
But when
it,
you're
but-
working on the same machine as one of those accidents happens on daily, it's a bit worrying, isn't it? What can
Scary.
potentially go wrong?
Yeah.
Can't get complacent, mate.
No.
So there we go, yeah. It was all right in the end, but I think that's a thumbnail and title justified right there, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Done.
Sorted.
Big vernier.
Big vernier, yeah.
Right, liners, mate, for the Ingenium. Right, getting the Ingenium liners in. So these are actually a 2025 Rolls liner.
Really?
Apparently so, that's what it says on the... I went by the sizes,
Yeah.
ordered the number, but when it turned up it said Rolls 2025. I mean, I didn't even know they had liners in the old 2025.
Don't know.
Anyway, they're in an Ingenium now. The only trouble is with these, they're 9 inches long.
Right.
Ain't a bad thing, but we need to trim them down.
Ain't a bad thing.
Ain't a bad thing in some cases.
Some people wish.
They do. We need them from the very top to the very bottom, 6.2. So I've set me big vernier at 6.2, mate. And what we do, put that at the top, we just scribe a line.
Ah,
A lot of you are going to be saying, I wouldn't be using a vernier to do that. But we only use this vernier for doing this, so...
It'd be out of a job
see.
if you didn't do that. So
Look at that, look, nice little line there. So what I'm going to do now, put it in the big lathe, that way, and I'm going to part it off, okay?
right.
And then we're going to press it into the block. I've done 3 already, mate. Should we go and have a little look?
Let's have a little gander. Have to lean over here.
We've got 3 in there, look. They're all sitting about 10 thou proud, because I've left 10 thou in there. So yeah, lovely, went in like a dream. 3 thou interference. So what I do, heat them up with a heat gun, each bore. Put the old liner in the fridge for a bit.
Yeah.
And with the safety glasses on, I see them pressing them in. I'll heat them up until we've got basically 0 interference.
Right.
Once the liner gets to about halfway, it tends to all match up anyway, and you can hear it then starting to tighten up.
Yeah,
and they go in with probably about 3 tons, something like that, which is
Ideal.
perfect, mate. These have gone in absolutely bang on. If I lift it up, you can see at the base there of them ones, we've got to cut out for where the com rods go, either side. So what I should do, once I've done it, put it on its face on the mill, get the long end mill in and just take out where the rods have got to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, we can get it bored then, mate. There's probably about, I think, 1.5 mil to come out of these liners.
Right.
But yeah, quite good. Never linered an Ingenium before. I know they do suffer with the bores and the crank, but
Probably be an improvement, won't it?
should be a little improvement, really. Say it's a top hat flange at the top, so they're not going anywhere. And the gasket seals just on the outside of the liner, so perfect, really.
Yeah, ideal.
Ideal. What, M3?
Yeah, you already spoke about that or no? Yeah, you have.
I think I did. I think I mentioned it, didn't I?